And welcome back to the Zanpakuto Creation Series. From the Zombie Demon, we have the question of what is Asura from Asura's Wrath, Zanpakuto? Given the culture, given the mythos in the Asura's Wrath lore, I think it's pretty safe to say we can base it something in the kin of rage. But how exactly does that work? Well, first and foremost is Zanpakuto type is an elemental type. Its sealed form still takes the form of a katana. Its release is burn it all down, which I believe I've used a similar phrase before for other Zanpakuto. I think it's fine that other Zanpakuto can have the same release, just not the same name. Now, its Shikai is called Chiyoya no Gakido, or a father's rage. And this, I went with this idea for the name because I know his daughter is a big part of the plot. To some degree, like I can't remember exactly. I had never actually played the games. I saw saw the infant scene where he just punches Wizen's finger. I've seen all those, but I've never actually played the games. But I do know his daughter played a big factor in the games and in his story. So I think that works here. It's his Bankai is Akari no Yaru Yami no Sabaki, or Divine Judgment of Anger. Like he's Asura. He's the embodiment of anger. Not anchor, but anger. And I would imagine that his spirit is something looking along the lines of the actual Asura or Shiva or something like that. Now, in terms of what we can do to apply it to the Bleach world, if we're having him be in the Bleach world, I think that he does not have his the metal arms that he has here, the metal forearms he has. He's almost like armored gloves. I think he just has standard gloves. But what I think his Shikai does is he regains these in the afterlife. In reincarnation, he gains these as his Shikai. And when he throws a punch, not only does he have physical armor in that for a strong punch, but he is also throwing a giant flaming fist. The fist about the size maybe a Komamoro's Tengen. Maybe you could say, or maybe a little smaller. But regardless, it's still like Tengen moves with Asura, but it's limited to like a palm thrust or a fist. It's not used to grapple with anything. Like any movement won't work. Although, like any standard, punch, palm strike, maybe a backhand or something like that, that can do something. But because of who Asura is, it really would just simply be like throwing fists of fire. And as fast as he can throw a fist, that's how fast the punch moves. But he is limited to only two. That is where his Bankai comes in. His Bankai would take the form of the 6 arms he would gain. Now, these 4 additional arms would be fully mechanical here. He's not just growing in fleshy arms. No, these are like mechanical objects. But the obvious advantage is he now has 6 arms to do things such as, and I'm using Deku versing Overhaul here, throwing multiple fists at high speeds. And when you're dealing with individuals that can move at near light speeds, if not beyond light speeds, then this becomes a flash fire. Basically, this is kind of like what Stark did to Shunsui in their fight. Just overwhelming blasts of firepower and rage. And, I mean, because of his rage, he can push himself even further. I think he's got a couple technique names. But in terms of actual, technique, that, say, Shunsui, Hyorimaru's, Toshiro's Hyorimaru, Shinsui's Katen Kyokatsui, Yamamoto's Ryujin Jika. There's no specific real main technique. The fists are bigger. He's got multiple of them. He can move them fast. It's simplistic, but very powerful for the basic function it serves. So it's a Zanpakuto that is certainly, and there we go. Let's just get that back here. And that is certainly dangerous, to say the least. But I think there's obvious catch here. It would still kind of be fueled by his rage, his emotional state. Like, the more angry he is, the stronger they might be. It would still have a lot of strength even when he's, normal, temperament. But the stronger he gets, the stronger the flames are. Obviously, Ryatsu to Ryatsu is an obvious one. Energy absorption techniques would be an obvious one. Anything that can negate fire because, unfortunately, his fire just still would not be at the same heat as something like Ryujin Jika. Because Ryujin Jika is the strongest fire type Zanpakuto. That's something we got to take into account whenever we're designing these Zanpakuto. like, you can't just negate Soul Society history. You can't just negate canon history. Ryujin Jikai is the strongest fire-type Zanpakuto, and arguably the strongest offensive Zanpakuto that we know of, at least in the in the series. And that's including, keep this in mind, that's including Zanpakuto like Ichimonji or, what is Senjumaru Zanpakuto's name again? Shigawari or something like that. I can't exactly. It begins with an S. I can't. Shigarame, I think it was. But yeah, that's including Zanpakuto like that. Now, granted, those Zanpakuto might arguably be stronger than Ryujin Jikai, but especially Ichimonji, but for very different reasons. But in terms of like sheer raw attack power and potency, Ryujin Jikai is the strongest, and this Zanpakuto shouldn't theoretically supersede that. And again, he still only has 2 arms in Shikai, and 6 arms is a lot more arms than firing out a lot of flurries of fists, but it's a very direct kind of Zanpakuto as well. Like, it's nearly impossible. If you ever try to throw a punch behind your back, like, you can do it. It's not impossible, but the level of awkward your body has to move in a direction it's not designed to necessarily do, at least not in terms of fighting, means that this thing you're going to struggle if someone gets behind you. So while it's extremely powerful and straightforward, with not really any insane weakness to it, it's got a lot of flaws in sense of how it functions in an actual fight, I think you could bring up. Still, though, I think it's a good fit for him. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, though. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one.